Welcome back. We are discussing, of course, the evolving situation as far as Iran-US tension is concerned. As you know that there is a lot of diplomatic activity taking place in Islamabad. The Iranian foreign minister traveled to Pakistan this week and held wide-ranging talks with the Pakistani leadership. Uh, Although there is a lot of confusion that whether this visit will eventually lead to direct talks between Iran and the United States, because Iran has taken a position that they are not here to hold direct negotiations with the US officials. Meanwhile, as we know that the US side is sending their team of negotiators to Islamabad to further decode and analyze the situation. I'm joined by former ambassador to Oman, Mr. Imran. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight on the Inside Foreign Affairs. So, first of all, let me ask this question. How do you read this visit by Iran's foreign minister to Pakistan? Because it comes after a lot of pessimism earlier, because the second round that was supposed to take place earlier this week in Islamabad could not take place. So, given that, how would you see this visit by the Iranian foreign minister?
Yes, as far as the silence or the pessimism was concerned in Pakistan, yes, it's a breath of fresh air. It's a breath of light. But on the other hand, there is still uncertainty whether direct talks, would take place. But I'm presuming that if the American delegation is coming, and I'm sure it is coming, we might not be told the exact date. So they might want to meet outside of the glare of the public eye, or if that meeting doesn't occur, then the best thing is that they will have a response to the American proposals. They'll hand them over to Pakistan, and then Pakistan can probably discuss it with the Americans that are coming. But I'm hoping that talks take place.
But why do you think, there are two different positions? Of course, that Pakistan is playing a lead mediator. When Iran foreign minister announced his plans to travel to Pakistan, the Iranian foreign ministry was quick to say that, look, that he's not going there to hold talks with the US. The White House, on the other hand, said that they are having or going to have direct talks with the United States. So why this disconnect? Are both sides catering to their domestic audience, or is there a lack of communication between the two sides?
Yes, they are definitely both catering to their domestic audiences, and I think Iran, because it's taken a position that unless the blockade goes, it won't come for talks. So therefore, if they meet them halfway without the blockade taking off, it would of course reflect within Iran poorly on them. The US side wants talks, and it's sending somebody. It's very difficult for me to imagine that the US negotiators would be here and then there would be no talks with Iran. I personally think that if they're coming, there would be talks. But of course, both of them are on different tangents. It's a verbal duel that's going on. Besides the very important substantive points, it's a verbal duel that's going on.
You yourself, of course, served as a diplomat. Do you think that this could be a kind of a middle way that Pakistan has been able to find? Both sides have taken position, particularly Iran, because Iran said that they will not enter into negotiations unless US lifts the blockade, the naval blockade, and second, President Trump stops using the threatening language. So, given that Iran now has taken that position, and while taking that public position and then entering into negotiations probably make them weaker. So here they come out with this idea that obviously Pakistan has been mediating between the two sides. Indirect talks. First explore those options, try to bridge the differences, and then obviously given the outcome, there may be a possibility of direct talks. Do you think that here maybe some innovative ideas being discussed in Pakistan might have played a key role here?
Yes, Pakistan has been more than a mediator, as you know better than me. It's been one of the participants of the talks. So yes, but then it's a bit too convoluted for my taste. I think when you're traveling although it's for bilateral relations, and the American side is coming, there's no harm in getting in the same room, even if it's away from the public eye. Posturing to a certain extent is good, but beyond, if it goes beyond a certain point, then it affects the substance of the talks. And I think I would very much love Iran to talk with the US.
Interestingly, Iranian foreign minister, after visiting Pakistan, he will also travel to Moscow and Muscat. How do you see, these visits and the choice of capitals, given that we are also in the middle of a very fragile ceasefire?
So the visit to Russia is in context of the transport of the 60% or so uranium. One, and number two, I think there is something taking place in the United Nations. I think there are resolutions and counter resolutions taking place. Oman would like to seek Russia's help in vetoing or in propagating its point of view. And third, that Russia as an ally, probably they would want to discuss and brief them on the war. As far as Oman is concerned, Oman has been a very close friend of Iran, and they were mediating the previous talks. But I think they're going there for Hormuz. I think Iran would want to discuss with Oman whether some sort of joint sovereignty of Oman and Iran over Hormuz, would Oman agree to it, especially the narrowest part, which would come within their within their exclusive zones. So both countries very close to Iran, especially Oman. Oman as a mediator, and Oman also as a co-country in the Straits of Hormuz.
Well, we will talk about in detail the Oman factor, but I would like to more focus on this Russian thing. You know that even before Iranian foreign minister landed in Pakistan, Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov held a telephone contact with his Pakistani counterpart. And the readout that we saw from the Pakistani Foreign Office, Russia wholeheartedly supported Pakistan's mediation efforts. So we do not have the definitive details, as you mentioned, that one of the factors could be that there may be some, through back channels, a framework being developed by all the stakeholders to deal with that 60% enriched uranium. Russia earlier stated that it could take control of that enriched uranium. US, I know that have certain reservations. And the second factor, Iran is seeking guarantees. As you know that they say that if they enter into any deal, what guarantees that US or Israel will not attack them again? Here some people say that Russian President Vladimir Putin could play a role to tell President Trump to give those guarantees. So do you think that these are plausible things that we can really dwell on?
The guarantees issue is very important, but suppose Russia comes in and Russia becomes a guarantor, or it asks the US to give guarantees. The US, you can't still then predict what would happen. And if Russia formally becomes a guarantor, say along with China, even if President Trump, known for his deal making, if he agrees to it, uh, the Congress would probably tear the presidency apart, and the American people would not like this to happen. Everything is possible in this world, and to get to an end to this conflict, if Russia becomes a guarantor, that's good. But it seems to me that there would be a lot of opposition in the US.
But in terms of guarantees, there is also another view. You are absolutely right that even if US gives guarantees, it can obviously unilaterally withdraw from those guarantees. Some people say that given what happened during the last 6 weeks or during the conflict, despite US and the Israeli might, yes, the Iranian leadership might have been, assassinated. They suffered heavily. But the Iranian structure, the current structure that was in place since 1979, they withstood that pressure. So some people believe that given this situation, even if there are no guarantees, no US administration in future would think of venturing into Iran. So this itself is a guarantee. Do you believe this?
No, I personally think that lessons of history are forgotten very quickly. You're right. It would not attack Iran immediately, but it can give the green signal to Israel to do so, and then play good cop. That, oh my God, the Israelis did this, the Israelis did that. There could be other covert ways of doing this, but you're right. Maybe at this moment, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to have genuine guarantees. So maybe either Iran lives with it, or the four countries that are emerging in the Middle East, they could come. They're all pro-US, so they could give some sort of guarantee. I'm also saying this because you would have heard that some people were predicting that their leaderships would be visiting Islamabad also together when signing the grand final deal, if ever.
But what about, of course, that you served in Oman and you earlier touched this issue of Strait of Hormuz. Uh, since you served there, do you think that because earlier Iran also mentioned that as far as this key waterway is concerned, it is the right of Iran and Oman to manage the new protocols that they are talking about. Uh, do you think that Oman would agree to any kind of proposal that may antagonize, other Gulf countries? They would agree to, for example, that they would collect tolls along with Iran. Is it really feasible?
I think Oman, I'm pretty sure, would not agree to tolls, but Oman would probably with Iran want some sort of general or provision that Iran and Oman have the right to manage parts of the strait according to international law, and they would be relying on the narrowest part of Strait of Hormuz. So I think it's the tolls would Oman would not agree to, but otherwise Oman could agree to. Both these countries have been rallying for some control over Hormuz. So I think the Iranian foreign minister is going there in this context as well.
There is another view that U.S. is keen to, strike deal because it could not achieve their military objectives. And some people believe that, apart from whatever Iran's policy has been over the decades, this may be a good opportunity for them because any deal, given, in conflict, perceptions are stronger than reality. So the perception is that Iran has withstood the U.S. and the U.S. and the Israeli might. So would you agree with this that any deal at this stage would be seen as a victory for Iran?
Uh, it would depend how you would build the narrative around the deal. The world of narratives is so strong that you can change a victory into defeat or a defeat into victory. So if the US is going to claim that it resolved the issue, it destroyed Iran's defense infrastructure, and it also got them to zero uranium, which was below 3%. So the US can sell it. But overall, the world generally believes that by withstanding Israeli and American pressure, this is a victory of sorts for Iran.
And finally, do you think that obviously Pakistan at the moment is trying its level best to bring both sides not just to the negotiating table, but eventually persuade them to sign some kind of a deal? Do you think that Pakistan at the end of the day may have certain limits and it cannot go beyond a certain point?
Yes, that point has been discussed in Pakistan circles in the past week when the delegations could not, due to various reasons, meet in Islamabad for the second round. I think Pakistan has realized the limits of its mediation or something. But Pakistan has gone so far ahead in this now that this is not the time to evaluate staying off or other things. Maybe in the aftermath of this, Pakistan might think about it. At this moment, Pakistan is doing the right thing. it should go all guns and deal with the consequences maybe of a failed agreement later on. I think Pakistan should keep on trying its best.
Ambassador Imran Ali, many thanks indeed for joining us tonight on Inside Foreign Affairs. That's it from this edition. Do join us next week. Thanks for watching.